Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're heading down to Guyana to explore a potential issue with their judicial system.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
It is. Our main source is an article from Newsroom Guyana.
Okay.
And the headline really caught my eye. It says, CCJ's overturning of local court decisions becoming more frequent, Nandol concerned.
Wow, that does sound like something we should look into.
It does, right? Like, what's going on down there?
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder.
So to give everyone some context,
Okay.
the CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice, is basically the highest court of appeal.
Right, the Supreme Court.
Exactly, for Guyana and a few other Caribbean nations. So when the CCJ overturns a decision made by Guyanese courts, it kind of raises some red flags, you know?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, why are the decisions being overturned? What's the disconnect?
Exactly. And the person who's really concerned about this is Anil Nandlo,
Okay.
who is Guyana's Attorney General.
So the top legal guy.
Yeah, pretty much. He's the one overseeing all the legal affairs for the country. And he's using some pretty strong words.
Like what?
He's talking about an alarming rate of reversals, especially from the Court of Appeal.
Huh. That's definitely cause for concern. I mean, if the Attorney General is worried, it must be serious.
Right. And get this. He even said there's a 100% reversal rate for a certain category of cases.
Whoa, 100%. That's wild.
I know, right? It makes you think, what kind of cases are we talking about here? What's going on that they're always getting flipped on appeal?
Yeah, what could be so fundamentally different in those cases?
It's a real head scratcher. Now, the article doesn't specify what types of cases these are, but we can definitely speculate a little.
All right, let's put on our detective hats.
Exactly. So one possibility is that these cases involve some really tricky constitutional matters.
Okay, so the interpretation of Guyana's constitution itself might be up for debate.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Or maybe there are certain areas of law where things are a bit murky.
You mean where Guyanese legal interpretation might differ from how the CCJ sees things?
Exactly. So maybe there are these kind of gray areas where Guyanese courts are interpreting the law one way.
And the CCJ, applying regional jurisprudence.
Regional jurisprudence? What's that?
Oh, sorry. It's basically the established legal principles and precedents that have developed across the Caribbean region as a whole.
Oh, I see.
So the CCJ considers all that when they make their decisions.
So maybe Guyanese courts are kind of like speaking a legal dialect, so to speak.
It's a great analogy. And to see how this plays out in real life, the article gives us this interesting example, the case of Prakash Ramkissoon and Sarah Brown.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. They were appointed as parliamentary secretaries, right?
That's right.
And there was that whole legal battle over whether those appointments were even valid.
And in the end, the CCJ sided with them, overturning what the lower Guyanese courts had decided.
Right. So this case kind of exemplifies this trend that Nandol is worried about.
Exactly. It's a clear example of the Guyanese Court of Appeal ruling one way.
And then the CCJ being the final authority coming in and saying, nope, you got it wrong.
Which begs the question, is this just an isolated incident? Or is there a larger pattern here?
It definitely raises some eyebrows.
Right.
But why is this trend of the CCJ overturning Guyanese rulings potentially a problem?
Well, the immediate concern is public trust. If people start to feel like their courts are consistently getting overruled, it can erode their faith in the entire judicial system, you know?
Yeah, it's like if you kept getting bad directions from your GPS, eventually you'd stop trusting it altogether.
Exactly. And beyond everyday citizens, this inconsistency can impact things like international business.
Oh, how so?
Well, imagine you're a company thinking about investing in Guyana.
Yeah.
You want to be sure that their legal system is, predictable and fair.
Right.
But if there's a pattern of the highest court constantly overturning local rulings.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It'd make you think twice before doing business there.
Precisely. Who wants to invest in a place where the legal ground seems shaky?
It'd be like playing a game where the rules keep changing out of nowhere.
Exactly. But hold on a second. Isn't the CCJ's willingness to overturn these decisions a good thing in a way?
What do you mean?
Well, it shows that they're acting as a check and balance, ensuring fairness across different Caribbean nations.
I see your point.
It means they're not afraid to step in and correct errors, even if it means overruling a lower court.
Right.
But the frequency of these reversals does make you wonder, what's happening within those Guyanese courts in the first place?
Right.
Why are these discrepancies happening so often?
So it's not necessarily about the CCJ being the bad guy here.
Right.
It's more like they're shining a light on some potential inconsistencies within Guyana's own legal system.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key point highlighted in the article, the issue of case backlogs.
Ah, right. Nanville mentioned that massive backlog of cases in Guyana's Court of Appeal. He called it an unfortunate bottleneck.
It sounds like a real mess.
Yeah, apparently, while the Chief Justice has been doing a good job clearing the backlog at the high court level, the Court of Appeal is struggling to keep up.
And that's a huge problem. Justice delayed is justice denied, right?
Absolutely. And this backlog issue could actually be connected to those CCJ reversals we've been discussing.
Oh. How so?
Well, remember, the Court of Appeal is where many of the cases that end up before the CCJ originate.
Right.
So if there are systemic issues within the Court of Appeal that are causing these delays, it's possible those same issues could be contributing to the high reversal rate by the CCJ.
I see. So it's like a chain reaction where inefficiencies at one level of the judicial system can ripple outward and impact other levels.
Precisely. And don't forget those vacancies on the Court of Appeal that Nanville mentioned.
Right. That could be a major factor in creating those bottlenecks.
Exactly, when there aren't enough judges to hear cases.
Well, then delays are inevitable.
So is the solution as simple as just filling those vacancies? Or is there more to it than that?
That's what we'll explore further when we come back. We're back and ready to dig even deeper into this issue.
You know, it's kind of crazy how much we've already uncovered just from that one article, right?
Right. It just shows you how much there is beneath the surface.
Absolutely. But let's get back to one of the things Nanville specifically highlighted, the Court of Appeal. What's the deal with that? Why is it so important in this whole picture?
Well, you can kind of think of the Guyanese judicial system as like a pyramid.
Okay, a pyramid. I like it.
Yeah, so at the bottom you have the high court.
Right, that's where most trials take place.
Exactly. Then, one level up, you have the Court of Appeal, which reviews the decisions from the high court.
Okay.
And then right at the top, the peak of the pyramid, is the CCJ.
The CCJ, the final word.
Exactly. The final court of appeal for Guyana and for several other Caribbean nations, too.
Right, right. So the Court of Appeal is kind of like the middleman.
You could say that.
Between the High Court and the CCJ.
Yeah, and that's what makes its role so crucial. It basically acts like a filter, you know?
A filter?
Yeah. They review the cases coming from the High Court and decide whether to uphold the original decision or send it up the chain to the CCJ for further review.
So the quality of the decisions coming out of the Court of Appeal plays a big role in what ends up in front of the CCJ.
Exactly. So if the Court of Appeal is consistently making decisions that the CCJ overturns,
it raises some serious questions.
Big time. And remember those vacancies we were talking about earlier?
The vacancies on the Court of Appeal.
Yeah. Filling those is absolutely crucial, not just to address the backlog of cases, but potentially to improve the quality of the decisions coming from that court as well.
Right, because it's not just about having enough judges.
It's about having the right judges.
Experienced, qualified.
Exactly. Impartial individuals who can really handle those complex legal matters.
Right. It's got to be the A-team.
Absolutely. Like building a championship team, you need all the best players.
In every position.
Exactly. And just like a team needs good coaching and support staff, judges need a strong support system too.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about things like adequate funding, enough staff, research resources, up-to-date technology.
All the things that help them do their jobs effectively.
Exactly. And it's not just material resources either. It's about fostering a work environment that encourages intellectual rigor, collegiality, a shared commitment to upholding the rule of law.
So creating a culture of excellence within the judiciary.
Exactly. A place where judges feel supported and respected, empowered to make the best decisions they can.
That makes sense. But even with all of that, there's still the challenge of public trust.
Public trust.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how great the judges are if people don't have faith in the system itself.
You're absolutely right. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we ensure people trust the legal system?
It's a tough one.
Transparency is key. The judiciary has got to be more open, more accountable to the people it serves.
In what way?
Making court proceedings more accessible, giving clear explanations for their decisions, actually responding to public concerns.
So demystifying the whole legal process.
Exactly. Make it less intimidating for ordinary citizens.
Right. And also educating the public about their rights.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When people understand how the legal system works,
they're more likely to trust it.
Precisely. And feel empowered to participate in it constructively.
So it's about making people active participants in the justice system.
Not just passive bystanders. And it also means ensuring the judiciary itself reflects the diversity of the society it serves. You know?
You mean judges from different backgrounds, genders, ethnicities?
Exactly. Different socioeconomic groups, everything. So that everyone feels represented and feels like they have a voice.
So taking a step back for a moment, why does all of this even matter to our listeners?
That's a good question. It's easy to think this is just some far-off legal drama.
Right. Guyana's pretty far away.
Right. But this situation actually highlights a much bigger universal truth. A well-functioning judiciary is essential for any society to thrive.
I mean, that makes sense.
The courts, they're the guardians of our rights, the protectors of the rule of law, the ultimate arbiters of justice.
When the judiciary is weak or compromised, it impacts everyone.
Absolutely. And beyond that, this whole thing underscores the interconnectedness of our world.
What do you mean?
Something that might seem like a localized issue in Guyana can actually have ripple effects all across the globe.
Interesting.
Right. We live in a globalized world. What happens in one country can impact economies, political landscapes, even social movements elsewhere.
So this isn't just a Guyanese problem.
Exactly. It's a global reminder that the pursuit of justice is an ongoing journey. It requires all of us to work towards a legal system that is just, efficient, and accessible for everyone.
Well said. And with that, we're going to move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore some of the potential solutions to these challenges in more detail. We're back for the final part of our deep dive, and I gotta say, this whole situation in Guyana has been really eye-opening.
It really has. Who knew one article could spark such a deep conversation?
Right. But it's clear that Guyana's judicial system is at a crossroads, dealing with these CCJ reversals, the backlog of cases, trying to build public trust. It's a lot.
It is. And it makes you think about that tension between, like, national sovereignty and regional integration.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you mean?
Well, you have Guyana, an independent nation, with its own legal traditions and history.
Right.
And then you have the CCJ, this regional court, trying to ensure consistency and fairness across multiple Caribbean nations. It's a tricky balance.
It's like trying to be your own unique self while still fitting into a larger group.
Exactly. How do you maintain that individual identity while also being part of a bigger community?
It's a tough question. But as we wrap up, what are some of the key things our listeners should remember about this whole situation in Guyana?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that judicial systems aren't these static things. They're constantly evolving, you know?
They have to adapt.
Right. Just like a living organism adapting to its environment.
So it's not enough to just look at where things are right now.
Yeah.
You got to understand the history, the current challenges, and how things might unfold in the future.
Exactly. And for Guyana, there are some serious challenges. Those CCJ reversals, that massive backlog of cases, the need to build trust with the public, these are all things that need to be tackled head on.
And while there are no quick fixes, we did talk about some potential solutions.
We did.
Things like filling those vacancies on the Court of Appeal, giving the judiciary more resources and support.
Right. And exploring those alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, like mediation.
Oh, yeah. That could be a game changer.
It could. But perhaps even more crucial is fostering that open dialogue between the judiciary, the government, and the people.
So everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Creating a shared understanding of the issues and working together to find solutions.
It's about recognizing that a strong, effective judicial system benefits everybody.
Exactly. And it takes a collective effort to build one.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Guyana's judicial system. It's been an incredible journey, exploring the intricacies of their legal system, the challenges they face, and the potential pathways forward. And for our listeners, it's a reminder that what might seem like a distant issue can actually have implications that resonate across the globe. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.